Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Bridging the GAAP, a podcast brought to you by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. My name is Eileen Foley, Senior Manager of Digital Operations, and I'm joined by GASB Chair Joel Black as we introduce today's topic and special guest. So welcome, Joel.
Thanks, Eileen. It's great to be here with you for the next episode of Bridging the GAAP.
We're happy to have you. Do you mind sharing with our listeners a little bit more about today's topic and who Matt will be speaking with?
Happy to. Today's topic is the Government Accounting Research System, or GARS, which is our online research system a lot of stakeholders are interested in using. And Matt will be talking to Michelle Czerkawski, who is the Assistant Director of Research and Technical Activities at the GASB.
That sounds great, Joel. I think our listeners will really be interested in learning more about GARS. I know it's undergone some wonderful improvements lately.
That's correct. And Michelle was very involved in those improvements, so she's a great person to talk about it.
That's great. Okay, so let's go ahead and welcome Michelle to today's episode with our host, Matt Broder. We look forward to learning more. So over to you, Matt.
Thank you, Joel and Eileen, and thank you all for listening in to episode 3 of Bridging the GAAP. As Joel mentioned, today I am speaking with Michelle Czerkawski regarding the Governmental Accounting Research System, or GARS, and its latest improvements and changes. So, Michelle, welcome to Bridging the GAAP.
Thank you, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're delighted to have you. So let's begin with sort of the basics. What exactly is GARS, and can you just tell us a little bit more about the tool?
Sure. So the Governmental Accounting Research System, or GARS as we often refer to it, is essentially a website that provides access to all literature that together constitutes generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP, for state and local governments in the United States.
Okay, so it's a website, it's online, and it's comprehensive because it includes all of the literature that the GASB produces. So when you say literature, let's break that down a little bit. What do you mean by literature?
Sure. So as you mentioned, all of the GASB's literature is included in GARS. That includes things like statements, interpretations, implementation guidance issued by the GASB. It also includes pronouncements that were issued by predecessor standard setters. That literature was incorporated into GAAP when the GASB was established in 1984. And all of that literature together is presented in GARS. It's really presented in one or more of 3 content collections within the system. Those content collections are referred to as the original pronouncements, the codification, and the comprehensive implementation guide, or we sometimes refer to that as the SIG.
Okay, so there's 3 buckets of literature inside GARS, and maybe you can just talk a little bit about each of those kind of in turn: the original pronouncements, the codification, and the SIG, or the comprehensive implementation guides.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I'll start with the original pronouncements. That collection really is what its name suggests. It contains each pronouncement as it was originally issued by its respective board, and the text of those pronouncements within the collection is supplemented by something we call a status page. And the status page is something that allows us to indicate, for example, among other things, whether that original pronouncement material has been affected, so amended or superseded by requirements that were issued after or later. So there's a way that we're able to, although the text that's included in the original pronouncements is original and never changes, we're able to, in some ways, indicate to a reader of that material whether they may not be using the most recently issued or up-to-date version of that requirement, just to give them a little bit of a heads up.
Well, that seems like that would be pretty important information for a user to make sure they're staying current.
It really would, and that's really where our other 2 collections come into play and are really important for folks to understand the presence of. So our comprehensive implementation guide and the codification, both are used to present currently effective requirements. So the requirements as they exist now, which include all of the effects of any amendments that have been made since the requirements were originally issued. Both the codification and the comprehensive implementation guide are arranged or present the information topically. The main difference between the 2, though, is that The Comprehensive Implementation Guide collection includes materials that only were those that were originally issued in standalone implementation guides, whereas the codification truly is a comprehensive presentation of currently effective literature. And so the codification includes all materials regardless of where they were originally issued or their form. So it includes all statements, interpretations, and other literature, including the implementation guidance.
Is it sort of intuitive to use online? Is it easy to distinguish among these different sources of information?
Yeah, Matt, we've really worked hard in this new platform to improve sort of the navigational tools that are present in the system. And so we focused very heavily on trying to make that intuitive so a user could jump into the system and try to quickly find what they need. That really is one of the key ways that the system, I think, is useful to those who are doing accounting research.
Yeah. So you mentioned improved navigation. I gather there are other improvements that have also been made to the online system?
Sure. One of the really important ways that the system can support accounting research is through the use of some functionality such as the search tool that's been incorporated into the new platform. We tried very hard to make that tool much more robust to allow a user to, for example, input a search term and execute a search across all three of those collections that I mentioned simultaneously. And then they can see those results in separate tabs on a search result page and narrow down and hone in really using some filtering capabilities on what might be most relevant to them.
That sounds great. And I know that the GASB as well as the FASB made some changes last year to access the systems online. You want to just talk about what that meant for the GASB and GARS?
Sure, you're right. Previously, although the GARS system had always had content that was free to all users, right? There were some certain functionalities or features that were available only to users who had a paid subscription. Some of those, like search and print, were only available to those paid subscribers. Also, in the past, all users, regardless of whether they were just accessing the basic content or using a paid subscription feature, needed to authenticate in the system. So they had to create a user account and they had to log in each time. With the launch of the new GARS platform, we really have made all of the content and the features available to all users free of charge and without the need to create and maintain those separate user accounts.
That's great. I probably should have asked right at the beginning, where do people go to actually find all this great stuff?
Well, for listeners who want to check it out themselves, anyone can access GARS using a standard web browser of your choosing by going to gars.gasb.org. Alternatively, there are many links available that take you directly into GARS from the GASB's basic website or general site at gasb.org. Users of that site will find a bright orange link that's almost unmissable at the top of the page.
Impossible to miss. Yeah.
As well as some direct navigation through a standards and guidance navigation area and a resources area just on the homepage, just above the footer of the page.
Great. Well, obviously, all of this content is essential to your stakeholders. They use it, I'm sure, every day. I think the website traffic there is very, very high. It's great that you've been here to help explain what this resource is and how it works and how people can get access to it. So thanks for coming on the podcast and giving all these insights to our listeners.
It's really been my pleasure, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Thank you all so much for tuning in with us to this episode of Bridging the GAAP. We hope you'll join us again, and please be sure to visit gasb.org/podcast to subscribe and to stay updated on future episodes. You can also follow the GASB on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, previously Twitter. Bridging the GAAP is a production of the Financial Accounting Foundation, produced by myself, Eileen Foley, and brought to audiovisual life by Patrick Dorsman. So until next time, keep balancing those books, crunching those numbers, and embracing the art of financial reporting.